Well, hello. And today I have a special guest on the Healthy Prosperous Conversations. I have Miss Brittany, and I'm going to have her introduce herself. We're going to have a really good conversation around the workforce, the career. How do you get into a career that you may or may not have experience in? Or how do I have the confidence to interview when I'm not that great at interviewing? So, Brittany, would you mind just introducing yourself, letting us know who you are, and then we'll go from there?
Absolutely. Thank you, Regina. And hello, everyone. My name is Brittany Jenkins Morrow, and I have been working in workforce development over the past 10 years. So I have had the great honor to work at our local level, our state level, and also at the nonprofit level, which is coming up with innovative ideas, innovative ways to impact the workforce and just to make the whole workforce ecosystem just a stronger and better entity throughout the state of Georgia.
I love it. I love it. So do you find joy in helping people in this way?
Absolutely. I absolutely do. I found a lot of joy in hearing career plans and helping
Yeah.
individuals just to map those out. When I worked at the local level, I was able to work as a career coach. So individuals would come in and some would know what they wanted to do, and some had no idea.
Right.
So we would kind of look at some labor market information, which is a really good tool to look at if you're interested in knowing, like, what are the high demand industries, or if this
Mhm.
industry that I'm wanting to go into or this occupation I'm looking to go into, how does that look 10, 15 years from now? Will that
Mhm.
still be something that's in demand, or, will that be something I will have to pivot from and possibly, return and get more training so I could kind of go into another area or another field?
Oh, that's so good. I mean, if I think back in my younger years, I would have like really wanted a career coach to help me in that space because I mean, there are some people who are really good at pivoting, then there's some people who are not so good at pivoting. So, having that information at your fingertips is just so good to have just in case I am the type of person that don't really want to pivot. I want something that I can stay in, it's going to be there, it's thriving, and I can continue to move forward and grow in that space. So, that's really, really, that's awesome. So I want to talk about some success habits for your career. What have you found or what have you seen or helped people in when it comes to having success in your career? What are some tips that you can share with those who are wondering, how can I get promoted? How can I be successful where I am and grow at the same time?
I think one of the greatest pieces of advice that I was given was from someone who had been in the industry longer than I. One thing she said to me, she said, Brittany, always be your authentic self,
Mhm.
but yet be professional. And that's something that I have just kept with me along the way. I always come off as authentic because, one, helping people is a passion. So I don't have to dress that up or,
Yeah,
make it seem forced in conversations or interactions, because that just comes across quite naturally because my
yeah.
passion is to help people. So when I am doing things like being a career coach, or even when I went and decided to work at the state office, which was more of an administrative role of some of our state workforce funds, even in the office where I wasn't directly serving the public, in a direct point of view, but just being in the office, I would advocate, for the
Mm,
individuals that I remember coaching at the local level. And, so in those meetings, they would say, "Oh man, we could feel your passion," that would come
yeah,
across to them. So it's always authentic. So being
yeah,
authentic, and I think being authentic is a byproduct of your passion. When you're passionate about something, people can tell. They can
yes,
tell, they can pick up on the cues, whether that you
yep,
are being authentic, or if you're, just kind of pretending or trying to dress it up to be
yep.
something that it isn't. So I think
Love
being
it.
authentic is definitely something that has stuck with me, remaining professional, networking. Right. So
Mm,
one of the greatest advice I ever got from my dad was never burn bridges. I think we've all heard that.
yep,
Never burn your bridge. You never know when you may have to cross it again.
right.
And that is so true. In workforce development, even throughout the whole state of Georgia, um, there are people way in South Georgia that knows individuals up here in Metro Atlanta. I mean, they
Mm.
know them, they conversate, and they'll say, "Oh, Brittany Jenkins Morrow? Yeah, she's from Camden. Oh, yeah, I know her." So just
Oh,
that networking piece,
yeah.
But also in networking, you have to remember that your character follows you. How you
Yes,
act, how you treat people, that follows you everywhere
yes,
you go. So
it
just
does.
making sure, just remaining professional, remaining authentic. But I also think also just again tapping into that passion because that's going to come through and people are going to remember that. They're going to
Yeah,
remember that. And when you're networking, always just maintain a good character about yourself when you're
yeah,
networking. Make sure that
good.
you're not burning those bridges.
Yeah,
We teach courses on work ready skills or soft skills, or people call it so many
yes,
things, life skills
yes.
these days. But having those skills, understanding communication, understanding conflict resolution, right? Because there's going to
Mm,
be conflict in the workplace.
absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
going to be conflict in life, but the way you handle the conflict makes all of the difference. So
It makes a huge
even if
difference.
there was something you may have disagreed with someone, at a previous job or
Yes,
in a previous organization, they won't say, okay, well, she's a mean person. No, she's passionate. It was a
yes,
disagreement, but that's a byproduct of her passion. She didn't agree with
yeah,
the way, this was being handled. So just again, just networking, always network, always try to make a good impression,
yeah.
being authentic, and
Like,
just, wearing that passion. People
mhm.
respect your passion.
They really do, and you can tell. I can tell just by what you're talking about and how it just keeps flowing that you're very passionate about helping people in this space, and I love it. I want to talk about authenticity because that's one of my favorites. Like being real, being true to yourself. What would you say about being true to yourself in a workplace where it's professional, but you haven't necessarily been in a professional environment? How do you balance out authenticity with, how they say, I'm just being real. I'm just going to say what's on my mind. I can't hold back because this is who I am. Like, how do you professionally do that? Because I hear that. I've heard it in the past at workplaces, and it just doesn't always rub well when sometimes you gotta clean it up a little bit,
Right.
without being fake. You know what I
Right.
mean?
I definitely think that being authentic and maturity goes together.
Mm,
I think you have to have a level of maturity to understand when to speak and when not to
yes,
speak. There has been times where I have wanted to speak and sometimes have been provoked, because hey, conflict happens, these things happen,
absolutely.
it's no point in trying to pretend that they do not.
Right.
But there's been times where I felt like, I could have been backed into a corner. But I learned through mistakes, as we
Yeah,
all do.
yeah,
We the Bible
absolutely.
said Jesus learned obedience through the things he suffered.
Okay.
And that is for us too. So, I have
I
gotten,
love it.
professional pops on the hand from individuals that will come to me and say, hey, you have great potential. But you need to work on your
Right.
communication. And sometimes communication, your facial, how do you when you're in
'Cause I'd
conversation
be
and someone
like,
says something you don't like, or if you feel like they're wrong and you're right, that passion, right? I'm right, this is the passion is pushing me, which is great. But sometimes it's better to leave things unsaid or to clean it up, like you said, and package it more, more sugar than
right,
salt. So I
right.
think again, just the maturity, understanding also the work that you're doing. Sometimes you lashing out or you being real is not doing anything for the work.
Not,
For
yeah.
what I do, everything that I'm doing in workforce development, whether it's directly or indirectly, is impacting people. So I
Mm,
always keep that in mind. What about the people? How is this going to help the people? If I'm
yeah,
constantly bickering in the workplace or going back and forth with certain things that have no value, I
yeah.
feel that it's taken away from the work I could be doing to help impact the people.
That is
And that
so
is
good.
something that stayed in my mind. I want to share this. It was what is the guy's name? He is a popular pastor, Benny Hinn. Benny Hinn
Uh-huh.
said he had a vision one time, and he said in the vision that there were people jumping off the side of a bridge, and it was hundreds of people. They just kept jumping off the side of the bridge. And he said, Lord, why are you showing me this? And he said, this is what'll happen to the people if you don't complete your assignment. These people are
Oh,
assigned to you.
I
And if
love
you
it.
don't stay the course, these people would never be reached. And that is
Mm.
something that I have kept with me. And this
I need you
I
to
heard
repeat
that
that one more time. If these people what? Say it one more time, please.
if you don't, I can feel chills. If you
Me
don't
too.
stay on your assignment, if you don't continue on what I have given you to do, the people that's connected to you will never
Mm,
be reached. And that's why they were jumping off the bridge. He
wow.
was showing them, these are the people. If you don't come, if you don't continue your journey, if you don't stay focused, if you don't
Show
stay
up.
diligent and steadfast, these people they
Mhm.
won't make it. Isn't
Oh,
that powerful?
that's so good.
I feel chills. And that is
That's so
something,
good.
even when I feel defeated, even when something I'm trying to launch didn't happen, or this project didn't come to fruition, or I didn't feel well received in certain rooms. I
Mm,
keep that in mind. I have to keep going because if
I love that.
there's certain things and certain people, certain events, certain times that I'm connected to, and they're waiting on me to get there. Someone
Yes.
needs what I'm doing, even if it's one. I heard a pastor said one time, he said, even if Jesus was coming for just one, he still would have came. And so I
Yes.
keep that in my mind. What
That's so
about the
good.
people? Who's going to help the people? And
Mm,
that helps keep my mind straight. It helps keep me in the fight, keeps me going.
that's so
So I think
good.
sometimes you have to reflect on, why are you doing what you're doing?
So
Even if you're
why
not in
behind the
workforce,
what?
right. Even if you're a nurse, even if even if you're doing something else, even if you're working at McDonald's right now until something else opens up, you have to keep the vision in front of you. Why am I doing?
Yes.
I'm working at McDonald's because I'm going to school, because I want to
Mm,
get a degree in nursing, because I want to help people. I want to help discover a cure for cancer. You have to keep those things in front of you. And on days when no one's watching, you're right,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
no one's around, I'm not all did, I'm not all made up, that is going to be the gas that
So
keeps me
good.
going.
That is so good. I mean, I thought about so many things when you were talking. It was just so good. Like, I see the importance of writing the vision because there are times, there are challenges, there are things, there are days you're going to just not want to show up. But you got to keep that in mind, what you're saying. You got to know, what is the vision that God gave me? And I think that's important about not just going and getting any job, but what am I passionate about? What gift did God give me to where I can flourish? I believe we can use our gifts anywhere, probably where we're planted. But like, how did God call me in this earth to be able, what did he call me to do in this earth? Am I passionate about the work that I'm doing? And while I'm doing it, do I have my mind on the goal of why? Like, that is just so good. I heard all of that in there. And I
Yes.
think that that should speak to somebody who is just applying for anything, going and doing anything, and it doesn't, and I hate to say light you up, but yeah, light you up, like really adds some type of excitement for you to do it. And not that we get caught up on excitement, because I'm sure it's not excitement every day. There are some
Right.
challenges, right? We can't
Right.
just look at, oh, I'm not excited, so this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. But like, what lights you up, even when there are challenges? What is it that you can continue to keep your eyes on the vision and the goal that God has set before you, so that you don't give up and forget about the people who might jump over that bridge? I love that.
Right.
That is
Right.
just so good. So good. Um, wow. Let's talk about interview skills. What do you say to someone who is getting ready to interview? They
Some
say they're not that great, you know? I mean, they haven't interviewed in a while, or they know they carry the skill, because I want to make this two-part. They know they carry the skill, but their interview skills are a little rusty. And then I want you to talk to the person who feel like they're not qualified. They got the interview, but they feel like they're not qualified. How do they have the confidence to continue and to do well on the interview?
Yeah, absolutely. I think is having the skill is half the battle, right?
Mhm.
You can do it, but you haven't interviewed in a while. I love technology. The fact
Mhm.
that you can actually take out your phone and practice and record yourself and pay attention, to your words. Are you stumbling over your words? How is your posture? Are you
Yes.
making eye contact with the camera as if it's the individual, that's interviewing you? I think that is a great tip. I think to being authentic, we work with a lot of employers up here, a lot of our employer partners, and they get their resume. Of course, there's a study that was put out that says that the average hiring manager looks at a resume for 6 seconds. So 6 seconds
Mm.
they look at a resume, which I think, some may be longer, but
Right.
I'm pretty sure larger organizations, you got 100, 150,
Yes.
200 resumes. You don't have 15, 20 minutes, right? To
Right.
just sit down and go through that resume. So I'm pretty sure sure, you know, the focus were probably on the middle to larger organizations. But being able just to make a good impression with your interview skills, answering the question, you know, taking time to hear the question and
Mhm.
repeat it. Sometimes you can buy a little bit of time by repeating the question.
Yes.
It gives you time to really dissect the question, understand it, and then, you know, be able to answer it more efficiently.
Mm.
I also think a great interview tactic is to bring in your own questions, right?
Mm.
That's a great way to see if you're even a match for the position. So I got the chance to talk to some youth up here on yesterday, and it was about 600 students. And I was
Mhm.
telling them, I said, you guys, and this kind of goes into the other example you gave about how to encourage someone who may feel that they're inadequate. I said, you guys are the asset. One thing that the
Mhm.
pandemic taught us is that the
Yeah.
person, the employees, are the assets.
Yes.
Without employees, nothing is moving in these industries. The
Right.
TDL, remember you couldn't get toilet tissue?
I remember that. I still don't understand it, but okay.
Right. The trucks wasn't moving fast enough. There was
Yes.
workers, you know, that were going on strike for different reasons. Nurses, you know, in the medical industry, the healthcare field, they were going on strike. So having them to understand you're the asset. And that's
Mhm.
the attitude you have to take on. You are the asset. You're going into that interview. Yes, you're interviewing with an employer, you know, but at the end of it all, you're the asset. You're the
Mm.
asset. Nothing runs without the employee. The employee is the
Yes.
biggest asset, and especially with the temperature in the labor market, you know, a lot of industries have relaxed some of their qualifications where
Yeah.
there once was a need for 4-year degrees. It's like, hey, you got a high school diploma and you willing to
Oh,
learn?
man.
Come on.
Okay.
We'll teach you.
Yes.
You know, it's a lot of industries that have looked into doing more like apprenticeship programs where they can get
Mhm.
in partnerships with their local technical colleges and do some of that instructional training, but also have these individuals to go ahead, come in with a fresh mind, an innovative mind, which I love talking to the younger generation. I think they're Gen Z because they're so innovative,
So innovative.
forward thinking.
Yes.
And that is assets. That's assets to these industries. And so going in with, you know, with being authentic and bringing your ideas, because every business is looking to do something more efficiently, right?
Mm.
More
Yeah.
being more efficient, more effective. That's across the board, whether whatever
Right.
industry you're in. So just having that confidence, knowing I'm bringing something, you know, when
Right.
I sit down and we doing this, you know, interview and they're asking me these questions and, you know, I'm taking the time to repeat the question to give myself time to gather my answer and be able to
Yes.
regurgitate it back out, like I'm the asset. So
Mm, that's
just
so
having
good.
that self-confidence, you know, in yourself, taking time to meditate before, you know,
Mm.
the interview is a great way to calm yourself. I know a lot of us, all of us have one time or another just experienced anxiety because that's just a natural feeling of the human body. But just being able to calm yourself and just have that self-confidence, knowing that, hey, you know, I know this is a position, you know, I know it may be a higher position or, you know, what have you, but I am the asset.
Mm, that's so good. I bring some good stuff to the table, in other words.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
so good. That's one of the
Yes.
things that I think I never really looked at I looked at requirements when I was applying and I'm like, look, I know that I can learn fast. That was like a
Mhm.
selling point. I know I can learn fast. If you teach me and you have training, I can get it. Like I've gotten
Yes.
jobs that I have not been qualified for. I have gotten turned down for jobs. I've interviewed 2 or 3 times for the same job that I really wanted. And finally the person would call me back and I get it. Like I've done that. And gosh, everything you're saying is just so true. We just have to come and know that we are the asset. Like
Yep.
they
Are the
need
asset.
you, you
Yeah.
know, just as bad
Yeah.
as you need them. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
that alone gives confidence for somebody to show up like, you know what, I may not have this, but I have a transferable skill that can
Yes.
show up and
Yes.
give you what you need to get the results that your company's looking for. So I absolutely love that. So I think you kind of covered what employees look for.
Yeah, and
Really
you just said a term, transferable skills. Like, you know,
well.
during the, you know, we do a lot of work is we really take a deep dive into the workforce, looking where is it going, where is it at, what is the health of the workforce, what are we needing, what are industries needing, what are businesses needing, and those transferable skills. You know,
Yes.
hospitality industry took a big hit during COVID, and it really has not bounced back. So you had
Mm,
a lot of individuals leaving out of some of the hospitality jobs and looking to go into different industries. And one thing that we discovered is a lot of industries were really open arms to
yeah.
receive these individuals because of transferable skills. Something as
Yes.
simple as customer service,
Right.
understanding sales, like those
Yes.
things that can transfer into other industries. So I think that was a good term that you just threw out there, was those transferable skills. Don't think because I'm working at McDonald's, I don't
Yes.
have enough skill set to go work for Google. That's not
That
true.
part.
You
Yes.
have skills under your belt that
Mhm.
will benefit you at Google as well.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I love it. I love it. I hope that you all heard that. Like, do not let your limited mindset make you believe that you can't go to the next level because
Yes,
you don't feel qualified, but there are transferable skills.
absolutely.
I absolutely love that. How can you, how do you implement God in your career? Like, I know
Um,
that I have people come to me and they say, I'm afraid to talk about God, or I'm afraid to, let it be known that I'm a believer. How do you suggest doing that in an environment where, you don't want to seem like you're pushing this on somebody?
One thing I can say right now, I think in mostly all companies, all industries, it's just this openness of inclusion. That
Hmm.
is a term that we have heard more now in the last couple years than
Yes.
ever before, right? We've been in
Yep.
the workforce for a long time. I'm like, I've never had REI training. I've never had DEI. What is this? You know?
Right.
So it is something that has become such a golden term right now. So it kind of fuels everyone to be their authentic. And we keep saying that word, right? Authentic. It
Yeah.
really fuels everyone to be their authentic self.
Yes.
So being a Christian in the workplace, it's accepted, just like
Yes.
with other religions, respectfully, it's accepted because a lot of organizations and companies are huge on inclusion and
Mhm.
diversity and equality inside of the workplace. But on a personal level, I am a Christian, I am a believer, and I carry God within me. And He
Yep.
really, sometimes I'm like, no, I want to do it this way. But those values and those
Hmm.
morals help to drive even who I am in the workplace.
Yes.
Without God, y'all would not get this, Brittany.
Okay.
This is not the one that would show up.
Okay.
Like, so it's a benefit to the workplace,
Right.
my relationship, with God, because it
Yeah.
really empowers me to do the work, and it helps with the passion that I have to help people.
Yeah.
So I think that again in the workplace, just the whole initiative around being inclusive and
Yes.
having everyone in the workplace to feel comfortable and having everyone to feel that you can be your authentic self in
I
whatever
love
that
it.
is. You kind of see that on the HR side with different holidays and
Yes.
requests for sabbaticals and things
Yeah.
like that. So you can see how the workforce has really just grown,
Hmm.
over the last couple decades. Because I'm pretty sure in our parents' generation there was no policy, around
Oh,
taking a sabbatical
I'm
or
sure.
or even different types of dress based on religion or
Right.
or your orientation preference. Like none of those things
Right.
existed.
Right.
So I think right now it's a great time, just to be in the workforce because it's so much openness to who you are.
That's so good. And I mean, even with the talking about, the openness and the change that has happened over the years, remote opportunities,
Mhm.
it's just so big. Remote opportunities and what is it called? Hybrid opportunities are
Mhm.
there. I mean, back in the day, you would be like, oh, I would love to have a remote job. But now it's like, you can have that too. I mean, there is
Yes,
no limits, I think.
there's not.
Yeah, when it comes to the
There's not.
workplace, and I hear people say, and I want to know what you would say to this person. People say, I cannot find a job. There is nobody hiring. I can't get a job. What kind of advice would you give to that person who's saying
I do think they should probably tell the truth and just say, hey, I can't find the job I really want.
that?
I really want that. I could be more understanding, but to make it more broad to say I cannot find a job, I would say that there's definitely opportunities all around.
Mhm.
Sometimes you have to do this until you can get to that, right? And
Yes.
I think, I don't apologize about my dog, but I
Oh, it's
think
all right.
that is um something that that individual have to take into context. You know, you may be wanting to work at Google, but you may have to start out in Best Buy. You know, I would
Yes.
say encourage that person. If you can't get in that position that you want, or if that particular company is not hiring or you finding it difficult, I would say to stay in that industry if that's where you are and that's
Yes.
where you want to be, and maybe take a job that may not be at Google, but maybe at your local Best Buy, or maybe be at your local
Yes.
small IT firm to get experience.
Yes.
Because sometimes people can think they're ready for certain positions and they're
Yes.
not. And that was
Absolutely.
me. I was
No.
guilty of that. I thought I was ready for management until I had to try to manage people.
Oh my
And that
God.
is a job all in itself. So
It
I think
absolutely is.
just going through the process, you know, taking the jobs that are in the same industry that you're interested in, even if it is not, you know, with the exact company or the exact occupation that
Yeah.
you
I think that goes back to knowing your authentic self. And that goes into looking for jobs too. If you know, do I really want to deal with people like this all the
Mhm.
time? You got to know who you are and what you bring to the table and what you like. If you know that you don't really like the interaction with people, don't go apply for a sales or a customer service job, you know,
Right,
because you're going to
right.
always be in people's face. Now, of course, in the workplace, you're going to be connected to people, but like the constant answering the phone and being in front of people all the time, you may not want to go in that direction. So I think that goes back to think
Yes.
about yourself whenever you are applying for jobs, because that's going to matter in the long run. And then when it comes to managing people, oh my gosh, I think about, well, I'm going to go back to what you said about taking a job and then moving to the next. I worked in logistics and supply chain. I started out as a receiver, like unboxing, loading, unloading trucks, unboxing, putting it into the system as received in. I started there. They told me I needed to get a degree. I went and got my degree. Guess what? I still was working there in the same role. And that can hit our pride real hard. Like, wait a minute,
Mhm.
how am I still here? But I was willing because I knew that I wanted to be in this industry. I knew that I served in the military and did it, right? So I knew this is what I wanted. So let me just do the work now so that I can go ahead and take
Right.
that next promotion when it comes. But I did that for like 3 years until I was promoted to the next. I actually was patient. I actually ended up getting a whole master's degree in that same role. And then I was promoted. But I think that says a lot to how bad do you want it? How
Mhm.
bad do you want what you want? And are you going to give up? Are you going to stay the course until you find that thing? So I think that was really, really good advice for those who are at that level and think like, well, I've been in here for 6 months, this microwave type of stuff. And man, don't they
Yeah.
have so many programs now where you can come in
Yes.
leading? You can
Yes,
come in leading
absolutely.
straight
Yes,
out of college, right?
absolutely. Absolutely. I was telling the kids yesterday, I said, I wish I understood apprenticeships back then. I wish I understood the
Yeah.
model like around
Yes,
16. But that was not written out for us. We didn't really have
it
a great
wasn't.
understanding of what that was, or
Yes.
what all occupations are connected, you know, to apprenticeships. I was like, man, you would have taken that route, you know?
Right.
So I agree. There's so many opportunities. There's so many internships that's embedded into companies. Like for instance, Microsoft has a Microsoft Leap program. You don't have to
Mhm.
have anything but a high school diploma. You can
Yes.
apply for that program from Microsoft. They're going to take you in. They're going to train you. They're going to mold
Mm.
you, and they're
Yes.
going to pay you, and you're going
Ah,
to be a Microsoft employee. Who knew? All these opportunities. And so,
so
you know,
many.
just doing the work, going and actually researching, understanding, you know, what you are called to do, what industry or what lane
Mhm.
you're supposed to be in. I seen someone post on LinkedIn that said, when you're in your own lane, there's no traffic. You know, so being in your own lane, there's no traffic.
I love that.
But staying focused, like you were saying, staying focused on your goal, on your passion, on what you want to do, and not being easily distracted. You can do anything. You can go
Absolutely.
anywhere that you want.
Yeah.
But just seeking out the knowledge, seeking out different pathways to all of these opportunities, they're out there. They are
Mhm.
out there.
Yes, 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 absolutely. I hear work on your mindset so that you don't believe a lie, and causing you to miss opportunities that's right there in front of your face. So that's what I hear in that. Just one more question, and then we can wrap it up. I want to talk
Oh,
about
so soon?
negotiation.
So soon.
I know, right? I can go on and on and on about this conversation because this is something that I just want people to step into the thing that they're called
Yes.
to do, be in that place. It just lights me up. And I thought about somebody that I helped a couple of years ago, served in the military, got out, was working at their beginning job when they get out of the military. I call it a beginning job, but had so much skills and so many gifts. And I went to him like, why did you apply for this or that? Did you go here? And he said, no, like, I don't have, I don't think I can get in. I don't know that many people. And I'm like, what? Like, you have this, 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 this. I mean, I went to listen out all these things and I wrote up the resume and I'm like, now go apply. What are you doing? And he actually went and applied and got the job. And he has grown ever since then. But just to be able to help those kind of people and hearing that you're in a role where you can help those kind of people, I absolutely light up when I see people step into that kind of thing. So I'm so grateful that you are in this, doing the thing that you love and allowing God to use you in that space. But anyway, that was a side note. Negotiation, negotiations, when you get the job, when you showed up and you proved yourself, right? What do you say about negotiations when it comes to the job offer? Like, how do you counter successfully? Do you counter? How do you know when to counter? Like, how do you know those things?
I think a great thing about a lot of, not all, but a lot of organizations or companies is that they ask you your desired salary or
Hmm.
your desired wages. What is so what is so funny is that the position that I have now, when I applied for it, it said desired salary. I put lower than what they
I've done that.
initially, yes. And I was like, oh, well, I'm just gonna, and that's a habit of mine that I'm trying to break. I will lowball
Oh,
myself.
yes.
I will lowball but I will see all the potential in someone else. Like, yeah, girl, you should ask for, this amount, that amount. But when it comes to me, it's like,
Yes.
well,
Yep.
maybe, I should just do this. But but anyway, I kind of lowballed myself. I did lowball myself, not kind of lowballed myself. They gave a range, so I didn't know,
Mhm.
exactly where I would fit. So I was like, oh well, in this range, I'll just go here. And I actually
Yep.
ended up getting more. But I do think that it's nothing wrong with, having a counter offer
Yeah.
because you know what you're bringing, the
Yes.
skills that you have, your abilities, and it's okay to counter offer. They expect you to counter offer. And
Right.
I tell my 17-year-old son this. I said, the worst thing someone can tell you is no. But how many times have you heard no?
Right.
I've
Right.
heard no so many times.
Right.
Oh,
Absolutely.
no? Okay. So, the worst thing they can say is, no. And sometimes it may have to do with company budgets. There are budgets. Some nonprofits, they have boards, so
Yep.
they can't exceed this amount of money because they're operating off funding, federal funding or things like that. But I do highly suggest, counter offer. The worst
Mhm.
thing they can say is no. And then if they don't have the ability to do it, then you have a decision to make. Would you, accept the job with this wage, or will you continue to, on your job search journey? So I
Mhm.
do think it is great to counter offer. I suggest taking time to think about exactly what you really want,
Yes.
or also having understanding of how much do you need to make before
Yes.
applying for these jobs or going for these positions. Like,
Mhm.
calculate. I always
Yes.
tell people, think about your fringe benefits, think about your tax, all these deductions now. So if the job is saying 85K a year, 85K is not coming to you.
It's not coming.
You have
Right.
deductions.
Yes.
So to consider these things when you're thinking about, a number of how much money you need to, you need to make that would
Mhm.
benefit you the most. And then if they can't meet that number, or they don't give you that number, counter, send an email,
Mm.
counter
Yes.
offer. Thank you for the opportunity. Or you're excited about it. However, and then be able to make your counter offer. And again, the only thing they can say is no. And how many
Right.
times have you heard no?
Oh my gosh, right, right. I had to learn that. I'm serious. Like I have accepted lower than, and I'm like, why did I do that? I've done that, and I've learned like, no, just take the no if you have to,
Yeah,
but step out on and bet on yourself when it comes to
right.
that. I love that. And
Yeah.
do you see how like our own limitations can hinder
Mhm.
what God has sitting right in front of you? I remember
Yeah.
my last job offer. And I was at the place where I'm like, I'm not taking any more lowball stuff. I ain't doing it. Right. And I shot this number out there, thinking I was thinking that I was high. I shot a high number, I thought, and they came back with a higher number. I was like, okay. I was so
Right.
excited, like, whoa, I bet on myself, and they bet it even more. Like
Mhm.
that was just so good. But I think it comes when you decide
Yes.
that I'm worth this.
Because you're the asset.
Yes.
We are at the employee is the asset. We are the assets. They need us, and
Yes.
I don't want to dress it up in no fancy term, just simple as that. They need
Yes.
you. They
Yes.
need you. They need your creativity. They need your innovation. They need you. Every single company is looking for ways
Mm.
to be more efficient. And
Yes.
you have efficient type ideas inside of you. The great thing about new hires is they come in with fresh eyes and
Mhm.
they see things that
Yep.
people who've been there for years have forgot about. They have got kind of, into the little circle of, their
Right.
day-to-day operations of being inside of an organization. Those fresh eyes come in. They're like, wait a minute, y'all doing it this way? No, no, no.
Right.
These ideas. So just keep in mind, everyone that's listening, you are the asset. You have to
Mhm.
adopt that mindset. I
Yes.
am the asset. I am the
Yes.
sugar in this tea. I am
Okay.
the honey. Like I am the asset. I make everything greater. And you have to
Yes.
have that esteem about yourself. And I know that that is
Mm.
personal. And I know some people struggle with that. But you have to build yourself up.
Mm.
Because if you're not built up and if you don't see these things in yourself, no one else will.
I was just
And
about to ask
employers
you,
can
how do
tell
you
that.
encourage somebody that's in that space?
Yes. Yes, you're the asset. Because everyone is just so unique in their own way. We all created out of
Absolutely.
in the image of God. And God is so huge and so so vast that we all
Mhm.
have something
Yep.
different, right? We all have
Absolutely.
something great, something different, and just understanding that piece. I bring something. I've been sent here for a reason.
Yes.
I
I
have
love
an
it.
assignment that is connected to me for my duration of my time here on the earth. What am I supposed to do with it? What am I supposed to do with this time?
Mm.
As I'm getting older in my 30s and 40s are saying, hey girl, we see you coming. As I am getting older, I am realizing time and how much time just matters.
It matters. Yes.
What am I doing? What am I doing on this earth? What am I sent to do? Am I completing what God has called me
Mm.
to do? Because I want to say this, and I hope it's not offensive, but one thing that I have come to learn in my journey with God, when I accepted Christ, I became saved, and we need salvation. We have to accept
Absolutely.
Christ to be saved. But
Right.
as you grow and mature, your palate starts to, it expands. It's like, okay, I'm saved. So I know, that on the other side, I'm gonna see the Lord.
Right.
Oh, I want to make him proud. So what is it that you want me to do? You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
it just kind of expands. Like, some people get
Yes.
saved. Oh, I'm saved. I'm good. I'm in. you
Yes. That's
know,
all I need.
and
I don't need nothing else.
I'm in. I ain't going to hell. I'm good. I'm just gonna ride this thing on out. But as you mature and get closer, closer to the Father and build that relationship, you start to wonder, well, God, what do you want? You start to
Yes.
consider his desires, his
Oh, this is
wants. What do you
good.
want me to do? But, and I know that comes over time of just being consistent and building relationships, but just understanding time. We're not going to be here forever.
Right.
So what is it, Lord, that you have me to do? What work is it that you want me to to do. And that's not always in a pulpit, in a ministry, in a church. You know,
Right.
there's other places. So we need people that are believers in government. We need people running these
Yes.
nonprofits. We need a
Yes.
president that is a believer. You need all of these people in the
Yes.
world to do things that are motivated by God and that God
Yes.
has called us to do.
That is so good. One of the things that I did when I first started like coaching and stuff, I said I help people leave their 9 to 5, and God was like, you might need to revamp that because I don't believe God wanted me to highlight. He wants me to help people go into the place they're called to.
Mhm.
It may not be entrepreneurship. It
Right.
may be a job, right? And so I revamped it and got on that track to help people step into their call boldly, right? And so obedience is really, really, really important when it comes to that, which is so good. Um, I was gonna say the message of the only way you can do it well is do it through entrepreneurship is very dangerous because you hear it a lot.
Mhm.
Entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship. That is not for everybody, I don't
Mm-mm.
think, right?
Mm-mm.
Sometimes you're called to be in the workplace. Everybody cannot leave the workplace because we need the workplaces to thrive, right? Like you can create a legacy working for somebody else. And I'm just saying that because I feel that on my heart that
Mhm.
somebody has bought into the message that it has to be entrepreneurship. It does
Right.
not have to be entrepreneurship. It can be entrepreneurship, it could be workplace, or it could be both. You can do
Yeah,
both, right? You just have to decide, how am I going to be obedient and show up for God? Right?
that's
How
right.
can I glorify him and make him proud? I think that's just like the key of any role. Even so, I thought about something that you just said. Um, to keep in mind, and I want you to encourage the person who is listening right now, who may not feel like they're glorifying God, who may feel like they're confused, who may feel like, I feel like what I'm doing is just pointless. Like, how can you encourage that individual um, in where they are right now?
I think it is good to understand, again, kind of going back to our conversation, is to understand that you are created in his image,
Mm,
right? You are created in his image.
mm,
And I know there are times where we're high and there's times that we are low,
yes,
but the greatest motivation that I get is just from my personal time, just reading the scriptures, praying, meditating.
mm,
It brings encouragement. It brings water to desolate places that people don't
yes,
always see. You know,
yes,
you see the physical me, but there's so much more to me. So I think just again, just building up yourself, esteeming yourself, you know, whatever that takes, whatever
yes,
that takes. For some people, is, you know, saying things verbally. I have
yes,
a girlfriend who she had scriptures and she had her vision board and she has these things everywhere in her apartment. So
yes,
everywhere she looks, there's affirmations all around her just to help to, you know, just to continually just to build her
yes,
esteem up. Because again, if you don't believe it, then no one else will either.
yes. That is so good. I love that. I love that. So you just gave us advice on how you can build yourself up if you're feeling like you're in a low place and you've experienced failure after failure after failure.
Yes, yes.
I absolutely love that. I
And
heard
there's so many examples. I love um Oprah's masterclass. I
that.
have watched it on so many people from different genres of music, to different other paths and business, but you can always take away something. These people experienced so much and
Mhm.
had so much failure before getting to success. And I think I boohoo cried so many times just watching people triumphant moments, you know, because you can
Right.
relate. You may not listen to rap music, but when someone gets and they start to tell their story on, you know, how
Mm.
they were brought up in poverty and how this happened and these things and all
Yes.
of these barriers that they face, you know, regardless of, you know, if you agree with them or not, still as a human being, you can relate. You
Right.
can relate. So,
Yes.
you know, with discretion, I think that you can always listen and take something away. You don't have to chew the whole thing, right? You gotta know what to spit out. Some things, you know, I
Right.
listen to like Louis Farrakhan. I can listen to some things he say, some things I can digest, some things I'm like, no, I don't agree with.
Right.
But
Right.
to be able, and that takes maturity, right?
I was about to
To
say,
be
you got to be mature enough to
yeah, you
recognize
got
that.
right. you got to
Yes.
be mature enough to recognize it,
Yes.
because he's not going to come and change my faith,
Yeah.
because
Right. Right.
if you can change my faith, I ain't have it at all anyway.
Right.
It wasn't much
Absolutely.
to begin with.
Yes.
If that's
Yes.
all that it took. So definitely, listen to other people, get into some podcasting, listen to this podcast, listen to other podcasts, so that you can be poured
There are
into.
tons.
Yeah, there are tons to help motivate you, to help, to have you to look at things out of different lenses. I
Mhm.
always say to myself, like, okay, my lens is different. I grew up in a small town. I had both of my parents, very
Yep.
conservative parents. So
Me
my
too.
lens is different. And sometimes I have to adjust them. Like, wait a
Yes.
minute, everyone did not grow up like this. Everyone didn't grow up in
Yes.
church. Everyone doesn't have these mannerisms. And I have to
Yes.
like adjust my lenses, right?
Yes. I love
Especially
that.
dealing with people, because people
Oh,
are coming from all different
yep.
backgrounds and they have different barriers and different things that have taken place in their lives. And so even when I am talking to others, if I'm presenting something, I keep that in mind. I don't know what these people have been through. So I
Yes.
can't assume that my lens is their lens.
I love that. And that is, oh, that's such good advice for anywhere, no matter where you are. Like, we can't just go and I know people just go and just try to pour out, all this crit, not that, let me see, how do I say this professionally? Just pouring the Bible on people and they
Yeah.
are not even at that level. Like,
Yeah.
that can actually turn some people off. And I've had people that I've worked with that would just drown you with the Bible. And I haven't even cracked it open from the beginning. Like, you're my
Right.
Bible right now and you're drowning me. I can't
Yeah.
breathe. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
And just keeping in mind that everybody doesn't communicate the same. I remember being in the office um, and being called angry that I was being, what's the word that they use? Aggressive.
Disgruntled? Oh, what was it?
Aggressive. Aggressive.
Aggressive.
Yeah,
Okay.
my tone was
Aggressive.
aggressive.
Oh, yeah.
Now, and I'm like, my tone is aggressive. So this person can come to my desk and yell at me,
Mhm.
and all I did was stand in my authority and speak back, and I'm aggressive. Like, how did that happen? So I had to learn even through that there are some people who was abused. And so my tone
Mhm.
probably doesn't need to be as strong for this person as it did for this
Yeah.
person. Like being able to discern that. So doing those self-reflections and really being discerning of, how do I say this, Lord? Holy Spirit, tell me how to say this right now. Because right now, this person
Right.
can get this tone, this drill
Right.
sergeant side of me.
Right.
Like, how do I discern that? So I think that's really good advice for somebody in understanding how to deal with people in the workplace, because that's a big
Yes.
deal. I was going to ask you that, like, how do you suggest to someone, or what are some tips to deal with a difficult boss or difficult people in the workplace?
Yeah, and I've definitely have had that. And I would say majority of the times I have come into that type of environment where it has been a difficult boss is communication. And it
Mm,
normally has worked for me with one-on-one communication. I have learned not to address things that may that I may not like or care for in group settings,
yes,
because sometimes that put more fuel on the fire.
yes,
And sometimes you just, again, sometimes I know it takes maturity and it takes a lot to
yes.
sometimes take these and go like this. I'm not going to say anything right now.
I love it.
I think I'm
Yes,
always an advocate for, expressing yourself, but doing it in a more respectful manner. And I think 101 really helps to have just a better communication about whatever the problem is. In
I
front of
love
people
that.
is just not the way to do it.
Yeah,
Because then, you're kind of on the spot, they're on the spot, and they may become more defensive than
yes,
they would be if it was just one-on-one. And then always have an open mind to hear their side,
yes.
just your lenses.
I love
I'm not
that.
always right. I am not
Yes.
always right.
Mm,
So be able to adjust your lenses and hear the other person out. Sometimes your boss, you may get into a conversation and you may learn something about him or her,
yeah,
and why they view it that way. They may
yes,
have someone breathing down their neck. So they may be
right.
coming out a little bit more aggressive, not intentionally. They're human. So they're
Yes,
managing their human emotions, right?
yes.
Just like my human emotions. Like last week when I came in and I didn't halfway speak to nobody. My you know, nobody
Right.
will meet us. So you know what I'm saying? So you have to be able to really adjust your lens and understand they're human just like you're human.
I
They're
love
human
that.
just like I'm human. And I'm not always jipper. And there's been times I have taken wrong approaches to situations.
Yeah.
So keeping that in mind and adjusting those lenses. I'm gonna keep doing it.
Yeah.
Just those lenses, girl, because you're
That,
not perfect
yes.
either. And they'll
Yes.
try to see it from their point of view. And a lot of times that one-on-one conversation, you'll begin to see more a relaxed version of, your boss or even your coworker. And they may
Mm,
begin to share, well, or even apologize. I'm sorry, that was not my intention. This is
yes.
why this is going on. The company has cutbacks, or the company has a tighter deadline, or we lost
Mm,
funding. Sometimes you
yes.
don't even know what's going on, behind the scenes, especially in those higher leadership roles.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. This has been so, so, so good. I said 10 minutes ago that that was my last question. But I really do appreciate you for coming on and just dropping so many good nuggets. I know that somebody will be blessed by listening to this. Do you have any last thoughts or words that you'd like to share with those who are listening?
Sure, I do. For anyone that is just, feeling inadequate, I just want to keep reminding you that you are the asset. And
Mhm.
anything that you have in your heart, that thing that keeps you up at night, that thing that really tugs on your heartstring, that is
Yeah.
what you have been called to change or to do.
Yeah.
Anything that you see, any problem that you have identified that you really feel in your whole being, that's it. If you're
That's
looking for
it.
your passion, that's it.
Okay.
That is it. So lean into that.
Yes.
Pray and ask God, what's your next move? How do you go about it? Just like Regina was saying, everyone's not called into entrepreneurship.
Yep.
And that is fine. That is
Yep.
fine. There may be an organization that needs a director, that needs a coordinator, that needs
Yes.
someone to come and project manage
Mm.
these different other entities within their organization. And that passion that you have could be connected to that. So
Yes.
don't think just because it's not entrepreneurial that you can't do it or I shouldn't do it. No, the world
Yes.
needs what's inside of you. Keep your passion burning and
Yeah.
get that connected in the workforce.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you all for just taking the time to listen to Miss Brittany. I have enjoyed this conversation and I look forward to just you growing and learning from this conversation.
Yes.
Have a good day.
Thank you.